So I thought I'd do a quick video about the Persuasion skill in my Dungeons & Dragons campaign, because I've seen people commenting things like that I'm railroading players, or that I'm preventing them from persuading when otherwise they should have done, or something like that. And to be honest with you, the fault on this is really mine. The Persuasion skill is a skill. It's not a magical ability, so if there is something that I deem from the character's point of view that the players couldn't persuade them of, then no matter what kind of roll you make, the answer is going to be the same. They're going to have to say no. For example, if you're a guard in a castle and one of the players walks up to you and tries to persuade you that he is in fact the king, the guard personally knows the king. He knows you're not the king. There is no persuasion roll that can make him believe you are in fact the king. There are indeed many things that the persuasion skill cannot be used to persuade another person of. And I really should be more stringent about this, because it's, like I said, it's my own fault that this is being misconstrued. For example, the rules state, a DM calls for an ability check when a character or monster attempts an action other than an attack that has a chance of failure. When the outcome is uncertain, the dice determine the results. I've been allowing people to roll dice when it's not necessary, when the outcome isn't uncertain. The outcome of trying to persuade someone of something fanciful or ridiculous is not always something that's up to chance. Sometimes it's inevitable. I don't really like the idea of persuasion outside of argumentation either, because a lot of the time you could just say, well, I'm going to try and persuade him to do X, and they'd be like, okay, roll a dice, okay, well, he's persuaded. But that's not very satisfying for me either. I want, how is someone persuaded? This is why I generally get the players to make their argument before I let them roll a persuasion check, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It always depends on the person that they're trying to persuade. And if the players lay out a good argument, even a high dice roll isn't always enough to make it work. And maybe in these circumstances, I should be prohibiting the use of a dice roll. Maybe I should just be saying, no, I'm afraid you didn't persuade him there. I know the player's going to say, yeah, but what about my persuasion skill? And I'm going to have to say, well, there is no uncertain outcome in this regard. You can't persuade someone using this method of argumentation, and I can't always tell them the reason why, because often the reason why would require them having knowledge they simply don't have. Because I am trying to make this a kind of three-dimensional living, breathing world. When you do something, it has an effect. This is what the Inquisition is coming down on V for at the moment. Imagine if the Church were to actually discover someone who could make miracles on command. That would have a definite impact, wouldn't it? If they said, I'm one of your followers, I'm a follower of Jesus, and I can do miracles. I don't want to get into the potential of what could happen there, but you can see how this would be such a fundamental shake-up of the legitimacy of the Church. This would strike right to the very core of the philosophy by which the institution operates. And so you would think that someone in a position where they could do that would act with a great deal more restraint than V actually does. But that's okay. I really don't mind what it is the players do, but there are consequences to actions. And I think this is something that V is actually finding out now. But I think on the other side, it would be, since I've got into talking about this, it would be important to remember that the Church isn't a homogeneous entity. And there are going to be aspects and power centres within the Church that are very interested in what V is doing, but there are also ones that are very afraid of what V is doing. And it's something they can take the time to get into. Instead, V just ran straight to the Inquisition, which is like, wow. But my point is, there are different avenues that someone could take in a campaign that I make. They're not always all plotted out to their fullest extreme or anything like that, but the fact that they're there is something that can be built upon. But yeah, getting back to the main point, I can't let persuasion become an unfairly powerful ability in my campaign. I can't allow a player to persuade someone of something they wouldn't otherwise do. Like trying to persuade Crow to go 1,000 miles north and be a lord in someone else's kingdom. That's just not something that he's prepared to do. That's just not something you can reasonably persuade the man about. It would have to be extraordinary circumstances for that to be a persuasive argument. At the moment, there are no extraordinary circumstances, and so they couldn't persuade him to do it. It's not that I didn't want him to do it. I don't give a shit if this character goes 1,000 miles north and becomes a lord in a kingdom we're probably never going to see in this campaign. I don't care, but I have to follow the rules I've outlined for the character, otherwise, because I want to maintain the integrity of the character. Otherwise, the characters become just bland. He doesn't want to become a lord in a kingdom whose language he probably doesn't even speak. So again, I know I'm sounding like a dick now, but like, you've got to understand that there are other factors involved that prevent you from persuading someone of doing something, even if you can't see those factors. And frankly, I'm genuinely worried about V's ability to create a cult. I mean, he did find himself in the perfect primordial soup from which to generate a cult. Here's a group of people who are down on their luck, they're incredibly poor, they happen to be related to you, you happen to have a noble from where these people come from, and you have the ability to create magical powers. Yeah, there was a perfect storm of positive factors for V to be able to create a cult, and now he has one. So anyway, we'll see where this goes. I had to get this off my chest because it's something I see people saying a lot, and it's like, no guys, look, you have to remember, it's just the persuasion skill. It's not a magical power, and I can't allow people to use it as if it was a magical power.